All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 163rd episode of the Grow My DJ Business podcast, brought to you by the Grow My DJ Business Discord, Digital Music Pool, and Ferrari Production Academy. My name is Kareem.
Gary W. here.
What's up, Gary? We got really great feedback on our last podcast, and in listening, I was like, that was a really good episode.
Somebody asked how recording went, and I immediately thought it was a good episode, and I haven't walked away from an episode and thought that immediately in a long time. I was like, I don't know why, it just really went well, I thought. So we're growing in our YouTube, in the YouTube space right now as well. So if you guys aren't following us over there on YouTube, check us out. Get Down DJ Group on YouTube. Throw us a subscribe and a couple likes on some videos. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's go. Subscribe, like, comment. I don't care if you're not watching. Just do us a favor. Go help us out. We're trying to grow the show. Let's go.
For real.
Yeah, I think one feedback someone texted me about, another person who is DJing all over the place and involved with some hospitality groups and booking a lot of DJs, was he said, I sit down with ownership and management and I coach them on how to talk about the music and sort of giving feedback to DJs, because I think there's a huge gap where I think you mentioned it on the pod, where sometimes the managers, they sort of know what they want, but they don't know how to express it. Or like you said, they know if it's good or bad, but they don't know how to express that.
Yeah.
And he was saying that, I talk to them and explain, this is how you explain what we're doing here. This is the format. This is what we're looking for. And this is how you can explain to a DJ if they're not doing that format. So I thought that was awesome. And I'm like, man, we should have some convos with our owners and managers and stuff.
Yeah, it's easier when you and I are in the room and we're playing a room, and then we know what that room needs, right? Because we're there doing it. But it's those situations when we're not playing in the rooms that it becomes a little more gray area.
Right. I mean, that's a different story. But I think this is more for long-term relationships or the higher end venues where you and I are in more often.
Yeah. I liked it. That was a great conversation.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't checked out last episode, go check it out. What was the title? I'll never book you.
Yeah.
You got to be more positive out here, Gar.
Just trying to get some clicks, Green.
Yeah. So, all right. So I want to tell a little story of a situation that I was in recently at one of my bookings. And I was texting you while it was happening, I don't really know what to do in this situation. And before you gave me what you thought I should do, I said, you know what? Don't even give me anything. Let's not talk about this. Let's save it for the podcast. And maybe we can sort of do this moving forward, where one of us is put in a situation, we can pose the situation, and then whoever, I'm going to explain what happened, and you can kind of say what you would have done, and then I'll tell you guys what I actually did. So I was at a venue, Sunday Fun Day. It's a place that I've been playing for me the last 2 or 3 years. In previous seasons, it was always packed, right? It's this big brunch party. We play all EDM pretty much, high energy. There's confetti poppers and cryo and an MC and games and giveaways and all this other stuff that's happening to create this fun Sunday Fun Day environment. And this was the first time I was there this year, and it was super slow, 4 tables slow when there's probably 20 tables.
Jeez.
So, I sort of was approaching it as I'm going to play the format that I would normally play. I'll play more dance music rather than big EDM stuff to start, and we'll get busier and we'll get into what we normally do here. Well, it never got busier, and I'm trying to force in some higher energy stuff, and it's just not working. The people who were there celebrating birthdays and engagements and whatever else were requesting Jersey Club, Sexy Red, music that we wouldn't normally play in that venue on a Sunday. So I was posed with the situation of, do I just continue doing what is on script and what I know the venue wants and what the identity of this party is? Or do I go off script and play the music that I know is going to work in the room right now, which would have been more hip hop and Jersey Club, a little bit of Spanish, because that's what was getting requested. there's a small amount of people. What do you do?
I am always guilty of catering to the customer that's in the room, right? I want to play what they want to hear. I'm not here for me, you know. And even at that point, sometimes I feel like, especially in a slow room, it's like you have to cater to those people. There's, in my opinion, they're the only people there. That's what's predominantly getting requested. Can I get away with it? Now, does the management and does ownership want you to play that stuff? That's the next question.
Let me paint this other picture. I didn't know one person working there. It was all new management, new bartenders. No one even came up to me and said, "What's up?" or talked to me about switching over. I was working with Nico, and when he got there, he basically switched me over, and I just started playing. There wasn't one directive, not a hello, nothing. And I think this is relatable for DJs who don't own a booking company and who aren't the bookers of the venue and who are just showing up to do their job. So that was this.
Yeah.
I was in that situation. This is not one of our venues type thing.
Right. It's not one of our venues. And if you don't know the management and they didn't come up and you don't know, who's in charge and you don't know if the owner's in the room, and I think you need to toe the line, right? I think you need to, what I would do is maybe play some remixes that are more on brand, what you would usually play, but of songs that are being requested. So maybe not Sexy Red, the original track, maybe a more up tempo, maybe house leaning remix, right? And then so you're kind of catering to both. You're catering to the format of the room, and then you're also catering to the clientele that's in the room. Same thing with Latin. I would probably, I think you just toe the line. And then if you don't have remixes and whatnot, you should be connected to Wi-Fi and have the ability to download on the spot so that you can play requests. I make sure that at every venue, and I think everybody should make sure that I'm connected to Wi-Fi so I can download, because I don't have every single song. I'm pretty picky about what goes onto my computer. So that I don't have a ton of music that's just sitting around there. So I do download on the spot quite often. So that's kind of what I would do, because I do love to cater to the crowd, because I want to make sure that they're having a good time. They're the ones that are there spending money. Our industry is struggling already to get people in the door. Why not make those people that are through your doors happy? Right. And that's where I stand with it. Even if it's not on brand with the party. I mean, let's think about that portion of it too. Like, if it's dead, maybe that format's just not working for that room anymore. Maybe there needs to be a transition, and then I'm not going to say you weren't really getting booked as DJ Krim the artist here, right? Like, you're more like local.
Yeah, this was like a local Sunday fun day in Jersey, but not the area that I normally play in, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So I think that needs to be then thought about too. Like, why is it dead? Maybe the format's not working, but that's not your problem at that point. I think you just need to make the customer happy. So what did you do?
So I tried to play within the format. This is a room that's like strictly, we don't want hip hop type thing. So I sort of did what you said, where I wasn't playing like I'm playing like the most shallow end of the 128 pool.
Yeah.
And some of that was even like Pitbull hotel room service, Sean Paul temperature, the Ice Spice Boys of Lear, which is sort of, up-tempo Jersey club-ish, but not a heavy hip-hop record. And I tried to toe the line for a while and sort of stay on brand. It still wasn't really working. We didn't get more people in the room, and I just reached the point where I was like, I'm just going to play what these people want to hear, and that's it. And if they don't want to have me back, they don't want to have me back, and if someone says something to me, I'm just going to say, like, I played what I thought would help make you the most money. Yeah. So, yes, I played Sexy Red. Yes, I played Jersey Club. Now, did I play, like, the dirtiest versions or the again, shallow end of the pool? Like, most popular stuff, right? Like, Lil Uzi Just Wanna Rock, and a little bit of Ice Spice, and, like, the most popular Sexy Red, and Drake, and then, like, back to 100 BPM and like Rihanna, and just like I hit that like very plain Jane pop hip hop stuff.
In those situations, like that, all of that Drake 118 to 130 BPM stuff always works because it's so poppy, but it's still in the hip hop world, right?
Wait, what
But
do you
also
mean 118 to 120?
I don't know. He's got like a bunch of records like in the 118 BPM to 130 BPM range.
Yeah.
There's like 4 or 5 of them that are like mainstays that when I'm in a situation like that, I play all of them. And sometimes I'll play them back to back.
Yeah.
You know, especially if like you're in a slower room, you don't have a dance floor, like you're not worried about all of that stuff. And so like I will sit in like that Drake stuff because it's just pop, you know, it's pop, but it's house. Like with the Black Coffee production, you know, I think he's got 2 tracks with Black Coffee. Like those always seem to work, and it gets people singing 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that was like I said. I tried to stay within the format because it's not my party. I know that they want a certain thing, but it just reached a certain point where I was like, all right, this is it. This is who we got. We're not getting more people, you know? There's an hour and a half left in this party, or like maybe 2 hours, and it's like it's now or never to play what these people want to hear, to just keep them here as long as possible. And we ended up getting like a party or two that came in that was just hanging out at the bar that didn't have a table, and like I was able to keep them till the end of the party, which realistically, I probably made them a little extra money in going that route and just caving and playing the room. And I think as DJs, we sort of have to do what's best for the room as far as the music, and then explain later to management, you know?
Yeah.
And like we always talk about, I played hip hop and I played Sexy Red because of these reasons. We had 3 parties and all of them asked me to play this music. It kept them here for an extra round of shots. It kept them here for an extra round of drinks. And also, I'm working with Nico, and Nico is the best. He's the best at getting people engaged. He also kept them there. He was giving birthday shots out. He was playing games with the people that were celebrating. Like in tandem, at the end, I said, Nico, how much money did you and I make this venue for just doing what we do? You know?
Yeah.
And we've worked together so much that like I know what he's going to do, and I know what music he wants me to play in certain moments. And it's been a while since I worked with him, and it was awesome. Yeah. Just like getting back in that groove between the two of us.
It's nice to have somebody to work the room, right? I think that it's another thing that almost has fallen by the wayside because budgets are getting cut so bad that like having a host is huge, you know, and it creates such an environment. And it creates such just a great vibe for the room, and it really sets places apart. The places that have hosts, it's noticeable, right? And then the DJ can really focus on DJing. You know,
it's rare nowadays. I've been trying to find an MC for Halloween at Birch in one of our spots, one of our nightclubs, and it's been a struggle.
Yeah, if
they don't exist, there's a handful, and it's mostly all guys who've been in the game for a while. You know.
Yeah, because that's not as sexy as DJing, you know, and everyone wants to be the DJ now. So like that's the route that people have gone down, and having the host thing is really like we said, gone by the wayside because hosts aren't cheap because that's a big job, you know. I have a question. How about I'm trying to think about when I play 626 on Sunday, I get a lot of requests. This is going back to, you know, dealing with requests and wanting to stick to what vibe you're trying to create. And I know up there, like on a Sunday, we're trying to play soul house and throwback disco house and disco and stuff like that. But inevitably, you get your Bad Bunny requests and you get your pop requests for, you know, your Charlie XCXs, etc. And it's like, sometimes when you leave the genre and you got to try to go back that way, it's hard, especially like in a soul house, disco house situation. Like
to pop and then go back to soul house,
and then go back. Like you can't go back. I always find like if I'm going to leave, I'm leaving. You know what I mean? But even me as the booker there, and you know, one of the top 2 rotating DJs that play in that room, I can stick to tech house and house and disco. And like, I would never have to play a request there. And that's because that's the format that they want for that particular party.
Right.
In that situation though, like, do you ever feel weird? Like would you take the request? And once you leave that genre, like, would you go back? Would you try to go back? Like, I get stuck in this situation where I'm like, I don't want to leave what we're doing here, but it's important to make the people happy.
It's hard to say. I think on those Sundays or Thursdays or afternoon sets, I'd be more open to just sort of playing whatever that's going to work. If I'm playing a Friday or Saturday night and it's a certain format, like I'm going to stick to that format. And if someone asks me for a song, I'm just like, listen, this is a EDM party or this is a whatever party. Like, sorry. Because what I find many times is if someone's requesting hip hop and I play like a tech house version of that hip hop song, they're still not happy.
No.
They're not happy. And,
No.
It's mostly with hip hop requests where it's like they don't want to hear the tech house version of hip hop. They want to hear the original. And I get that.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to say, Gary. It's like it's a case by case thing. I'm of the idea where like if we have a theme for a party, if this is a disco house party, I'm going to try and stay disco house unless I absolutely have to leave it.
Yeah.
And like the Sunday party, I'm going to stay EDM unless I absolutely have to leave it. And we've been talking about these themes and parties that are more specific and more genre specific have been working better. And I think if we're trying to do that, sometimes you just have to deal with the hard set that's just not that good because you're just training people of like what this party is.
Right. Right.
I'd rather be that person having to like force it than one of our DJs that we book there that we then get feedback like, well, this DJ wasn't that good. They didn't play what the room wanted or whatever.
Right. Right. Yeah. It is. It's a very case by case situation. You really got to feel it out and see.
If you're a DJ that plays in a specific room often and you have good relationships with the staff, like they're going to trust you to do what's necessary. Right. But if you're like in my situation from the gig we were talking about, I don't know anybody. This isn't my gig. Another DJ who I respect and trust put me on his party, Yeah. So I'm trying to protect his party. I'm trying to make sure their staff makes money and the party makes money. So it's a little different. And I think that situation that I was in is more like what you guys who are listening go through. You're probably not the booker, You might not be the resident there. You're just going to play a party and you get put in these tough situations and it's really hard to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
I would say trust your gut. Trust your DJ gut of what you think is the best thing to do in the situation. And sometimes it's going to be stick with the format. And other times it's going to be cave and play what's going to make the room money and what makes sense for the people that are in the room. And if you're a good DJ, you'll be able to make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Read the room, read the situation, and do what's right.
That's really what a great DJ gets paid to do, right? Read the situation and figure out what to do and what to play and how to navigate who is in the room.
Yeah. In dealing with some of the ownership that we deal with, and like sometimes they just like they're making a decision. I'm thinking about like we do a few spots with game sound for football. And sometimes like a manager will try to make a decision before the Sunday even happens. He doesn't even know who's in the room, anything. And it's like, but you can't just blindly make a decision without being there and knowing.
What do you mean, as far as the style of music to play, or far as we're going to play game sound versus we're going to DJ for the whole time?
Yes. And I'm like, just let my DJ make that decision. Like, he's going to do what's right he's not going to want to empty the place out by just playing music when you might need to play game sound. You know what I mean? It's just, I feel like we have to not command some kind of respect from the places, but explain that, hey, I'm on your team and I'm doing what's right for your place.
Right. A good venue and a good manager will recognize that, and they'll trust the DJ to make the right choice in the situation. And if you make the wrong choice, maybe they'll come tell you to go back to doing whatever you were doing previously, or maybe they'll just let you rock. And at the end, you guys have a conversation and that's it. And next week, the room is busy and you play it like it normally is. Right. And this is just a one-off situation where you had to do what you had to do to have a successful day.
Yeah. Just so important right now to keep your customers happy, like I said, because it's getting harder and harder to get people in the door.
Yeah. And at a time where venues are struggling to make money, I think adapting to what's happening in front of you is more important now than maybe ever.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's talk about something that you've been kind of doing in your DJ career here, and you're playing a little bit more and more on USB sticks. And I personally, not for me, but I want you to talk about kind of your journey into this, and how you've liked it. And I'm going to give you my reasons of why I don't think I'm ever going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about it a bunch over the last few episodes. Just my transition from computer to USB, and it's not 100% transition, but for all my big parties where I'm headlining a room, I've been trying to go the USB route, or I have been going the USB route, and it's been a challenge, man. It's the most challenging thing I've done in my DJ career in quite some time. It's hard. It's hard, and I would say the most important thing is the organization of your music in Rekordbox and then to your USB.
Right.
And week by week, I've been spending more and more time in just getting my USB sticks more organized, more cleanly or clearly defined, and really having some base folders on there that I can go to, and then having obviously my specific party folder that I create prior to every gig. Yeah, it's a challenge because I just feel a tick slower, right? A tick slower in getting to where I want to go, a tick slower in transitioning song to song. Sometimes where like normally I wouldn't play this second verse and drop and build of this song, but I had to because I wasn't ready to play the next track type thing. I'm not planning out sets, I'm creating folders that I play out of.
Right.
And I'm seeing what's happening in front of me and adjusting. And you can expect, or you can plan for this big EDM, tech house, progressive house set, and then it's not that. And what do? You have to have folders that are on that stick that can allow you to go do something else.
Yeah. I'd have to like sit home and play around with that for, hours on end to just really get used to having everything be second nature, and like just navigating. And I mean, you have to be super organized. Not to say that every DJ should be super organized in the Serato era. I mean, like you have to be. Like mine is so overly organized. Like Doug says, like one of our DJs, like I never mind jumping on your computer because I know exactly where everything is because it's all right there.
I think that's rare for DJs in most cases to have a very organized Serato.
Really?
I don't know. Everyone's organization is different. Like I could jump on your computer and have no idea what to do. And same with you going on mine.
I used to play on yours at Ainsworth, and it was never a big deal. I could play off yours pretty good. Yours is very organized.
It'd be like, hey, play out of these two folders, and then you sort of just go and play out of those couple folders.
It's nice and easy, right? This reminds me of when I transitioned. It's ancient. This is so many years ago when I transitioned from CDs and vinyl over to Serato, and it was like the way I used to do it on CDs would be like I would make one CD a week, right? And I would have all the club banger tracks that I'm going to play that I downloaded from that week, and I would I'd make two of them, and then I'd be able to bounce back and forth, for peak hour, and I'd be hitting all those records. And then when I transferred to Serato, I was like, well, this doesn't really make sense. I don't know how to do it, and that's why I still organize things by date and not just by it's genre and date is how I kind of do mine now, because that was the system that made sense in my head. But like setting up your USB sticks, I know when I was messing around with just having them as backups, has it gotten any easier?
Yeah, I mean, there's a program called Lexicon that will literally transfer over all of your folders with the cue points from Serato to Rekordbox. I haven't used it yet.
Okay.
It just sort of scares me. I used to use something called Record Buddy, and one time it like completely erased a bunch of stuff, and I had to like pull up my backup Serato, and I've been a little scarred since that happened. So, and I heard other stories of people having issues with that Record Buddy program. It doesn't exist anymore. and that's probably why.
It never got out of beta, right?
I don't believe so. So I know Lexicon is the new one, and I've been saying that I'm going to spend some time in doing it, but I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, I'm gonna dabble into that. I think the way I do it is I'll do all my organizing that I would do every week in Serato, and then I'll drag over whatever, next folder, whatever new folder for whatever party I've created into Serato, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of how I do it, and that's how I update it. But it's a lot, man. I compare it to, let's say you're a nightclub DJ and then you start doing private events and you have to like sit there and go back and like build out all these folders. And then you go and play a private event and someone asks you to play whatever disco. And you're like, damn, I haven't built out that folder yet.
Right.
And it's sort of the same thing on USBs where, I was in a situation where I thought I was going to play a bunch of up-tempo and there just so happened to be a bunch of older people in the room where like my party classic 2000s hip hop folder would have crushed, but I just didn't have it on the USBs because I didn't think I was going to have to touch that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think over time and over the last couple months, my USBs have gotten more built out and more organized and more music. But in that first transition, like you get this is it. Like this is what's on my USB. You get what's on there. And if I prepped incorrectly, then I'm going to have a bad night kind of thing. Luckily, I haven't had any bad nights yet, but
that's scary. Like that's the scariest part, right?
Well, it's sort of liberating at the same time because it's like, well, I don't have your shitty request. I'm playing on my USBs. I don't have it. Like I can't download it. I can't go on YouTube, and like that conversation's over. But I don't know. Like I'm not really playing in a ton of rooms where I have to deal with a ton of requests, other than like on the phone type requests. So. Yeah. I would say the reasons why I did this was as I'm playing better rooms and playing shorter sets, it just presents better to me in this EDM world to be on sticks. It's just more of the norm, honestly. I think people go up there and you see a DJ on a computer and they think like, oh, this is like an old DJ or out of touch, or because every big artist is playing on USB sticks at all the festivals and all the shows, and that's just standard. So if I want to play in that world, I thought it was important for me to adapt to what is standard in that world. And when you're playing with artists or you're playing with other DJs, it's really easy to just switch over on a USB, like super simple.
It does present more professional. That's 1,000%. And
yeah,
I think the most important thing that you said there is that it's these shorter sets. Like when you're playing a 2-hour headlining set, hour and a half headlining set, like sure you can get through on your USBs. You know what I mean? It's a lot less. There's zero chance that you need to go into a different genre, like outside of, you're not going to play hip hop if you're hired to play, as a bass house.
Yeah. I mean,
act.
I've been playing a bunch of hip hop on the sticks. It's not a big deal. It's just a much smaller folder than all my house tracks. And I also don't think it's the hours, because I just played a Sunday Funday in Hoboken where I played 4 hours on USB sticks, but all I played was EDM and bass house and techno,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's more so how many genres you're expected to play. If I'm going to Jersey City and I'm playing a 5-hour open to close set where I know the customers want literally every genre, I'm not going to play on a USB. It's going to be, not that it's going to be impossible, but it's just not worth it. Like I'm not building out all these different folders on my USB to go DJ open format when I could just plug in my computer and it's already done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something that, I like to play a billion different genres, like a true open format DJ. Like I'm probably never going to strictly sticks. It's just not something that fits my brand of DJing.
You could definitely do it. 1,000%.
Could do it, yeah.
But it would be the journey of you making the transition and then getting comfortable enough and feeling like you're doing a good enough job on the USB would just take you so long. You'd get, you'd just not want to be like, fuck this. I'm just going back to my computer.
Right.
A trick that I now do, any set that I'm like, I'm going to play on my USB, I don't even bring my computer. I just bring USBs and that's it. And it's like, Cream, like, figure it out, bro. Like,
damn.
You're committed to this, and that's it.
I mean, It sounds very nerve-wracking.
I told you, it's the most uncomfortable I've been as a DJ in a very long time. But it's not a bad thing. I feel like I'm a better DJ and a better artist for it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm gonna go play Trio Charlotte this week, and I'm playing on USBs, and like, I don't know, it just presents way better, and I just think your crowds are gonna respect you more.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. But I've seen videos on TikTok and stuff of like younger DJs like making fun of older DJs on computers, kind of thing.
But it all goes with, you know, how you learned, and, you know, you're adapting to the times of what you need to do in order to be a better artist. And, you know, these kids are going to all come up using USBs first and then never even having a computer in front of them. And that's all well and good. And then it'll be on to the next thing, you know, whatever that is.
I think if you're thinking about doing it, just do it. Like, just go all in on it and just do it and force yourself. Because I said to myself, like, oh, I'm going to make the transition. I'm going to make the transition. I just dragged my feet for probably an extra 6 months. And instead of just saying, like, fuck it, I'm doing this, let's go. Yeah. And dedicating a bunch of time to organizing, and that's it.
Yeah.
1 week, I just didn't download new music. And I spent that week, all the time that I would normally spend making edits and downloading and organizing, I just organized my record box. That was super helpful, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this, and you have to make it a priority, 100%, and spend that all that extra time doing that.
Less is more, right? Those little like gig specific folders I create, like only the stuff I 100% want to play go in those folders, and then I just have the generic, like, you know, bass house, tech house, whatever folders that I'll then go to if I need to supplement what's in that smaller folder.
All right. Getting wild out there. Sorry. I don't know if you can see.
Gary's got the hurricane coming through down in Florida.
It's literally, as we're recording, it's coming. It's passing by.
Hopefully we don't get cut off here.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this room just got very, very, very dark. I can hear it whipping out there. So,
all right, let's get into our next topic, and this is like I watched from a distance all weekend of people posting TikToks and Reels about Lost Lands Festival, which is like a bass dubstep festival in Ohio that looks amazing. And it's something I said in our Discord, like, dude, if I had to pick one festival to go to, it would be this one. It's music I don't play, but it's music that I think is dope. And watching the video, I was like, this looks so cool. It looks like the people are so into this.
Yeah. I watched a couple of the videos that you recommended, and, you know, just checked out some of like the different stages and stuff that they have here. And I love music festivals that have like some kind of like stage in a forest somewhere. And it's all like, I remember Electric Forest back in the day being a really, really cool one, because like all the uplighting, all the lighting that's getting used in there is wild. And obviously that's not the main stage stuff. The Star Wars remix that you had suggested. Go ahead, explain
Apache
that. It looks awesome.
Has a Star Wars remix and played it, and it was my favorite thing I saw from the whole festival. But basically, like, the pit opened. There was a drone camera kind of flying around, and in the middle of the pit are two people dressed up as Star Wars characters, one red lightsaber, one green lightsaber, and they just like went at it in battle in the middle of the pit. And I thought it was like one of the coolest videos I saw all year, being, you know, a fan of the Wubs and then also a fan of Star Wars. And I hope that was like impromptu and it wasn't something that like they set up to happen.
Yeah.
Because if it was just something that happened organically, like, coolest moment of the year to me, I feel like in dance music.
It looked awesome. It looked really cool. But there was a lot of those DJs. I probably out of that lineup, because it's not the world that I'm a fan of, but like out of this lineup that I'm looking at, probably know, like, I don't know, 20%. I'm trying to see here.
It's one of those things where we've talked about these very focused parties, right? That are successful right now. And this is a very focused, this is what you get. You either like bass music or you don't. And if you don't, you're not going to go to this, you know?
Right, right. I feel like this genre or these genres have such a passionate fan base.
Rabid fan base.
Love it. Like live and breathe this shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I think when you have something like that, well, it's pretty easy to sell tickets to when you're putting all of the great producers and artists in one place.
Yeah.
And then you do it somewhere like Ohio that's, you know, not completely in the middle of the country, but you have it to where you can have people travel from all different parts of the country by car, like if need be, you know, and people will. I feel like those are always success because you're not married to the East Coast, you're not married to the West Coast. It's pretty easy to get to for everybody. So just kind of like smart placement in that regard.
I'm just laughing because I'm just thinking of like if I was there. Number one, I couldn't last a 3-day festival any longer. No way. And we've talked about like camping and all that stuff that it's just not for me either. But like if I had to pick a festival to go to, I think it would be this one.
Yeah.
Because I just think it's so different from what I do on a week-to-week basis. And it's a world that like I sort of see from afar and I'm just not in, but I would love to go check out. I'm just drawn to it. I don't know why.
Maybe next year. Maybe we're going to have to do a little field trip.
I'm pretty sure Snake also premiered his like alias at Lost Lands called Outlaw. And it's like techno. It's techno Snake. And there was another cool video of Snake and Crank That playing, and they have a song together. And I guess Snake debuted some like remix that Crank That had never heard, and you literally see his live reaction to the remix on stage, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to check out some more stuff that came out.
Yeah, so I just want to throw that out there. We're talking a little sort of what's happening around the world in nightlife right now, and that was just something that I wanted to touch on. So
yeah,
shouts all my bass heads out there.
I know we got a couple in the group.
We definitely do. We definitely do. Hova, converted bass head.
Is he?
Shout to Hova. One of our guys here locally is moving. So he's leaving Tri-State New York and he's heading down to Charleston to start, a whole new role down there with a hospitality group and DJing down there. So big shout to Hova. He's going to crush it. I don't even need to wish him luck because I know he's going to do great down there. So shout to Hova.
Told him once you leave, you never go back. So you come down south. That's it. It's over.
All right, so another sort of current event that I want to touch on, but it sort of goes into this broader narrative that bottle service is a dying breed sort of thing. And I've seen that here recently with some of my shows and early on here in the fall around New York and Jersey. But this dude, Malone Lamb, basically had a crypto scam, was like a crypto phishing scam, and he stole like hundreds of millions of dollars from people. And there was all kinds of videos of him this past weekend. I don't know if he knew he was going to get arrested, but in Miami, going to 3 different clubs on 3 different nights and spending like $100K, $80K on crazy bottle service, like shutting down the club type shit.
I saw one that was like $250. Somebody said that he spent $250. Another person
giving
said
girls
he spent $1 million.
Birkin bags, random hot girls. He's like, oh, hot girls deserve Birkins, and just handing out Birkin bags, bro. Like
he had to know he's going to get arrested. And
had to know you're getting arrested, and you're like, fuck it, I'm just having the sickest weekend of my life, and I'm gonna go to jail, and that's it. Is that what he did?
I mean, if the FBI is gonna raid you, you got to know something's up, right?
I don't know. Either you're really dumb, because if you're stealing millions and millions of dollars, like why would you bring this much attention to yourself? Why would you stay in the U.S.?
Right.
Like if you're stealing money, you got to get out of here. No, I don't know.
He's not from here, so
right.
I think he's from like Indonesia or something.
I'm sure you can go to the Bahamas or one of these countries where the rules aren't the same, kind of thing.
Right. It leads to this greater thought: is bottle service only for the ultra elite? You know, does it make sense for the normal person to get bottle service? I used to do bottle service all the time when I was younger, but bottle service was like everybody was doing bottle. You know, like
Right.
that's how you got in anywhere.
Right. It's you had to do bottle service to get into the party. That was
Right.
generally why I ever did bottle service, was because I'm just going to get a bottle. I know I have a spot. I'm bringing a bunch of friends and I'm good.
Yeah. It used to be to the point where, like, once you finished your bottle, like they turned your table and the next person up.
Yeah.
But so like they were turning tables with bottles back in the day. Now I feel like you can't even sell a bottle. I don't know if it's looked at as, just a dumb way to spend money, which in my opinion it kind of is. Especially with the markup is wild, but obviously there's a lot of people that need to get paid from that, for whether that's the VIP manager, the bottle waitress, etc.
Right.
And I think it lives in these spaces where people travel, right? Vegas, like a lot, they could still push. You can't get in unless you're getting a bottle. They could still do that.
Miami, Vegas.
Miami, they could still do that.
Are there any LA,
Scottsdale, Arizona?
Yeah, I said Scottsdale earlier, but like thinking about it, Scottsdale's not the biggest like it's more bars that do nightlife kind of thing.
I know when one of my buddy goes to Scottsdale, they get bottles.
Really?
Yeah. And not like just like a lot of bottles. Like that's their MO going out there. So I think it's looked at differently when you are traveling, because you spend money differently when you're traveling, right?
Yeah.
To do this in like a home, sub market, it's hard. Like it's hard to sell bottles in a sub market where you just have a lot of locals, because, if I'm going to get drunk, I'm going to, maybe I'll pregame and then I'll just get some drinks at the bar,
Yeah. There has to be some sort of incentive for doing bottle service. If I can just get into the place and spend money at the bar and I don't have to wait in a long line, I don't have to pay this massive cover, why get bottles?
And that's
go ahead.
And that's what has changed, is the fact that you don't have to wait online. You don't have to be shoulder to shoulder anymore, because there's just not, the crowds just aren't there like they once were.
Right. And really only like Miami and Vegas and even like Atlantic City on a smaller scale, they built the clubs to be very bottle centric. So if you don't have a bottle, you're not getting as good of an experience in a lot of cases in those places. Whereas in your local market, like bottle service is just like an extra thing on the side. That's like, yeah, we're going to sell bottles and we're going to make extra money and whatever. But there's no real incentive to have to do bottle service.
No.
Like in the rooms that I'm playing right now, the tables that will always be sold are the ones that are on the stage or next to the DJ or behind the DJ.
I was going to say
that gives you a cool, different experience that you can't get unless you do that. But like in most cases, you're getting a table on the side of the dance floor where like you kind of just want to be on the dance floor or in the bar anyway. So why am I going to get a table for no reason?
Like the elevated tables on each side of the dance floor are always cool because they give you a good vantage point, but not a lot of these places are being built anymore with these things in mind,
The other thing with that too, though, Gary, is if the rooms aren't super busy, why would you want to be upstairs away from the action where there's like nothing going on around you?
Well, right.
And that's the other thing, the way things are built currently, all these venues are like the bottle service is sort of not in the mix, and it's not busy enough to have that ancillary space filled. And it's like, well, why am I going to get a bottle on a different floor or a different section of where all the action's happening?
Right.
I want to be in the action.
Right. That's what you're paying to have a space within where everybody's crowding, everybody wants to be, and you're just having your
right.
Your
and if
own...
there aren't a lot of, if you're the only person buying bottles or you and one other table, like that's not fun. That's not an experience. You're just sort of secluded from everyone else, and it's like, what's the point of doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're a far cry from like when bottle wars were a thing.
The last time I was part of a bottle war was I played Philly Roar, which is a very like bottle service driven, or was. I haven't been there in years.
Yeah.
But this was probably like either during COVID or like right out of COVID.
Okay.
And literally I was on the mic, like egging the tables on each side of the DJ to who's going to buy more bottles, which that used to be a thing. Like that used to happen way more often. Whereas now it's like, I'm lucky to have 2 tables on either side of my DJ booth.
They actually, back in the day when we were booking Ainsworth and Hoboken, I remember they opened this Ainsworth in Newark, and like that was their Sunday. I think they called it Bottle War Sundays.
Yeah.
And they just, and like for like 8 straight weeks, they were selling dumb amounts of like champagne and whatnot. And they were having tables like by 15 bottles. Like it was like insane. It was a short-lived party, but it was fun while it was going on, because they said it used to get crazy like that.
Right.
But like that doesn't exist anymore. Like you don't hear about that.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, if you're go ahead.
But you do in like a Vegas and a Miami still, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, you go to Omnia, it's like if you don't have a table, you're literally at this shitty bar in the back of the room, and like that's where you get to hang out, The whole place is tables. Or you're at Live, like there's a little side bar that you get to hang out at, and like I don't know. That isn't fun to me. Anytime I've ever been to those places, I've gotten tables or been lucky enough to be at the DJ table or whatever. Like
right.
I'm not going there and standing in the back or the side and spending money and waiting in line. Like, why would I do that?
Right.
I'd rather not go than get that shitty experience. I'd rather pay up for the experience.
Yeah.
So local DJs, bookers, promoters, anybody listening to this, if you're trying to sell more tables or any tables, think about how can you incentivize customers to want to buy tables? What do they get? What experience do they get that's better than just walking into the club? And I think everyone that's involved in these conversations at venues needs to ask that question. What are we doing to incentivize people to actually buy tables? It has to be some experience that they can't get as a regular customer. And it can't just be some shitty little side of the room where you're roped off. Like that's not the answer.
Right.
Maybe there is no answer. And if that's the case, like what's the next concept? How do venues make that money that they're losing from not selling bottles?
Yeah.
They're not, and that's why everyone's doing so poorly right now.
Right. Yeah, I drinks have gotten so expensive. I'm thinking about this from like if I'm going out and like it's a $300 bottle and there's 4 of us or something, but like drinks are now $20-$25 for a drink. Now it's like, does it maybe make sense to get a bottle and get an area?
Right.
The gap is closing.
The gap is closing as far as
gap's closing.
If it makes sense monetarily.
Because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I haven't really looked at many bottle menus in very long time, but like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I think bottles have come down in price over, or they've stayed the same.
I can look at a menu right now because it was sent to me earlier.
They've at the very least stayed similar to what they were 10, 15 years ago. Are they still
it's
$300-$400?
The same, Gary. Like a standard bottle of whatever you would know, like regular vodka, tequila, whatever, $250 to $350, let's say.
Right.
And then your high end stuff, your 1942, your Clase Azul, like 500-ish in that world.
Yeah, I mean, to
champagne, $200, $200 to $500. You can get Ace of Spades, $600.
I'd argue that it's come down because I think when I was going out, like it was like $350.
I mean, this is definitely like way lower than like normal. A big New York City or Miami or Vegas club for sure.
Well, that menu's, it's a submarket. It's a submarket of New York City.
Right.
So
this is a B market price list.
Right. So you can't compare that to what they're charging in New York City. But I mean, they've been charging between $300 and $500 since 2005 for a bottle. You know what I mean? And drinks back then, I think, were $10 or $11. And now like drinks are $20, $25. So it's like that gap is seriously closing. So since that gap's closing, does it make it more appealing to get the space?
Maybe it's on sale. Maybe it's a little, there's a little value in bottle service right now if you're a customer. We were talking with a new owner, and they're opening a bunch of like some new places, and their cocktail menu, he told me, was like, I think he said $16 to $23 per drink.
That's the norm.
And that's sort of what it is, right?
That's the norm. I mean, I've stumbled across a couple $30 cocktails.
That's insane. $30 dollars, Gary.
I think I had my first $30 cocktail not too long ago.
30.
I'm like, where in the world? But when you're talking about aged bourbon and things like that, you know, like the price goes up. You know? It's crazy.
Yeah, again, we talked about this before with just the generation differences, and this is just not something, bottle service is not something that the younger generation is that into, unless you really show them that it's worth it. They're smarter than our generation when it comes to nightlife. They've made a stand and said, this is ridiculous. We're not doing this anymore.
Right. I don't blame them.
So how do places adapt? That's the question. And I don't think places have adapted very well right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
It's an expensive adaptation, you know, because it's like entire concept change or entire layout change, which are things that are very expensive. And in a time where places aren't doing as well, it's a lot harder to put that money up to do those things.
Yeah. Yeah, because your margins on bottles, that's where you're making a lot of your money as a nightclub. A lot of your money. So.
Right, like going from, let's say, 20 tables in a night to 5 is a huge revenue drop.
Yeah.
How many normal people walking through the door do you need to make up that 15 table difference? A whole lot. You can't make it up.
You can't make it up.
You literally can't make it up. I don't care what cover it is. I don't care how much drinks are. It's just not, you're not able to make that up.
Right. That's just revenue lost at the end of the day. And so you have to figure out what can you do to attract people in that space. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it really is.
Not a job I'd want.
No, absolutely not.
But
all right, I think this is a good place to wrap up. Before we go, I want to promo the latest Cream and Friends. So Cream and Friends Volume 6 is out now. It is myself, Beatbreaker, JD Live, and Scene. So 12 edits from the 4 of us on SoundCloud, on Hyped It. You can go grab the edit pack for free. There's a mix on SoundCloud of all the tracks. Love it.
I'm pumped about this one.
I'm pumped about this one. It's so fun to be able to put something out with people that I really respect and who I think are the best in the business. And that's what this Cream and Friends thing is all about. It's artists and DJs who I just think are super dope. And these are 3 of the best right now. So
yeah, I'm pumped about this one. It's going to be great.
Anything else? Anything else we need to promo?
No, I think once we get the ball rolling on some of our new venues, we can give some shout outs, but we won't do anything yet.
Sweet. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.